Welcome to Hilary Topper On Air, the podcast you can't afford to miss.
Are you sick and tired of getting injured when you're training for a major event, be it an Olympic triathlon, an Ironman, a 5K, a half, or even a full marathon? When that happens, it could be so frustrating. I'm Hilary Topper, and this is Hilary Topper On Air. Today, I'm speaking with Dr. John Nagura of Jonas Chiropractic Sports Injury Care in Syosset, New York. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Hilary.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. My name is Dr. John Nagura. We're located at 99 Cold Spring Road in Syosset, New York. A little bit about myself. I got into the chiropractic field. I had a freak injury playing ice hockey. I crashed into the boards and dislocated grade 2 separated shoulder. And I went to a PT for about 8 to 10 weeks. They recommended surgery, and I got in with a sports chiropractor, and within 3 to 4 treatments, I had full range of motion back into my shoulder, and my path changed ever since. So now I love serving and helping the community and keeping athletes doing what they love to do best.
And you do a lot for the community. Can you talk a little bit about Jonas Chiropractic Sports Injury Care, what you do, you know, what your specialties are and how you help people?
Sure, absolutely. So our specialty, not only do we do chiropractic, we do active release technique. Active release technique was invented by Dr. Leahy. He's currently the head chiropractor for the Denver Broncos and Denver Nuggets out there in Colorado. And it's a scar tissue removal technique. Basically, anytime you have injuries, whether they're acute injuries or chronic injuries, the body will lay down scar tissue that makes it tougher for the body to recover and heal, thus limiting range of motion abilities and thus preventing us from reaching our highest potential, you know, getting those PRs that we so desire. Mm-hmm. We're a big sponsor for the Greater Long Island Running Club. We are the primary sponsor for the Aspire race over in Plainview. That'll be coming up in Saturday. I believe it's March 30th this year. They changed the date on us. We are the sports medicine provider for the USATF track and field of Long Island. So we're the head of that. We've been the sponsor or the major doctor for the Long Island Marathon itself. So if you don't see us at the office, that's great. Hopefully we'll see you at a race or an upcoming triathlons. We'll be at Jamesport with Race Awesome. We'll be with Event Power at Mini Mighty Man and other Event Power races this year. So
awesome. Talk to us a little bit more about ART, active release therapy. What exactly is it? You know, is it like a series of massage techniques? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So it's a massage-based technique. It's called active release techniques, not therapy, actually, unfortunately. Okay. And what it is it's a massage-based technique. So what the provider or the doctor, anyone could take ART. It doesn't have to be a chiropractor. It could be a PT. It could be a massage therapist. And it's the shortening and lengthening of a muscle, any muscle that has the injury or ligaments or fascia. And it's the shortening and lengthening of that area with an applied pressure. Usually the doctor uses a thumb or 2 fingers, maybe an elbow if necessary, but depends how deep you have to go into. And what it's designed to do is break up that scar tissue, that limited motion. And what I like to tell people is the muscle should glide nice and easily alongside each other. Unfortunately, when scar tissue occurs, the muscle pulls instead and it tugs and it's stuck basically. And what we're designed to do is we put positive pressure using our hands, getting a nice grip in there, and we pull the muscle down against resistance, and then we break up those adhesions and scar tissues in the area. And that really opens up the range of motion. A lot of patients feel better potentially by either the end of the first visit, second, third, or fourth. And it gets the athlete back better doing what they love to do faster than just regular treatments that take potentially 4 to 6 weeks.
Interesting. So how often would you recommend doing ART?
So that depends on what you're doing and what you're going for. If you've come in with an injury or you're acute, I never like to put a patient, like your body is totally different than the 300-pound football player. So everyone's on a different scale, but on an acute injury, we typically would like to start the patient at twice a week for the first 2 weeks and reassess as we go on. If they get better, we'll decrease the frequency down to once a week. If you're doing, say, a half marathon or a triathlon and you're trying to prevent the injuries from occurring, those things like shin splints or runner's knee, a lot of our patients typically do once a week to maintain their training at their optimum and get the best out of what they're working for. I do have patients that are often, sometimes we call them tune-ups or maintenance. They're not training too much, like it's the winter time now. So they're every 2 to 4 weeks, making sure their body, nothing's happening to them that's creating any restrictions into the body and into the area. So no one's cookie cutter. The most times that I do see someone with ART is maybe 3 times a week. And those are cases where you have radicular pain that travels maybe, say, from the shoulder down into the hands, we like to say. So you want to get the pressure off there as fast as possible. And that's basically what we go for at our office.
So that leads me to my next question. How can someone training for a major endurance event avoid injury, if that's really a reality?
So we always say that no one gets injured running the marathon, or we hope to say that. It's always the training that leads up to it, the breakdown of tissue and the recovery for it. So the best thing that maybe an athlete can do is, I always tell them, is just listen to your body. You might have set a goal of maybe running a half marathon, but the most you've ever run is 5 to 7 miles, and your body might not be able to get up to those 13 miles that you want to, but you really want to push yourself. You want to make it better. So the best things to do for training, I always say, is train in the right equipment. Go to your local runner store. Make sure that you have the right running shoes with the right cushioning in the area. Have someone assess your gait in the area, and basically make sure that you're training properly. You don't want to heel strike, that causes hamstring problems. So you really want to make sure you're open in that area. Have someone assess you fully. Double check to make sure you're not pronating or supinating, we say. Oh, stop. Sorry about that. And that's basically what's going on there. And you really want to have someone really double check you, make sure you're training and going through what you need, and then going after that.
So can you talk a little bit about the difference between repetitive training injuries versus acute injuries and how they're treated differently?
So the good thing is an acute injury typically happens when, think of a trauma, you're out there running, and all of a sudden you roll your ankle. Okay, that's considered an acute injury, something that happened out of the blue, basically, and you all of a sudden had that pain come in. And acute injuries, I like to tell people, the most important thing is first 24 to 48 hours, get some ice on the area, get some swelling down, get that out of there, and push that along. A chronic injury is typically one that everyone knows of. Carpal tunnel is considered a chronic injury. For the athlete, obviously, we think runner's knee. The athlete, when you do runner's knee or swimmer's shoulder, you're overworking the area too much. Maybe you're training twice a day for 6 to 7 days and not giving yourself a rest day in between. The good thing is with ART, they're both treated in the same mannerisms. It just depends what you're coming in with. Active release technique basically will have a treatment or a protocol designed to break down. First, the muscle will feel like a string, and basically we work that out. A chronic issue causes problems where you have really limited range and mobility in there. And so it takes a little bit longer to take care of that, but it does make it feasible with that, with the active release technique.
So let's talk a little bit more about running. There are some runners who I work with who run every single day. Do you think that's healthy?
No, not at all. What with running and coming with running every day, you have to give yourself a rest day. I mean, you need to let the body recover. Small little traumas will build up over time, and that's what creates a chronic injury. So you basically need to push the area as fast as you can, but basically give yourself a rest day in between. You have to give the body time to repair and recover. One of the nicest things that we just got for our athletes at the office is the Normatec boots. I know a lot of people see the high-end athletes. It's a recovery system, massage, fluctuates, pushes the area out, and it makes the legs a whole lot lighter and easier for you to train with, which is so great for the athletes. Basically, what you want to do is when you're running, I like to tell people you can run 5 to 6 days a week. That isn't bad. But know your body, know what's going on. You know, we all know what runner's pain can be, or hitting a wall potentially. And if you can run through that wall, you're okay. But if you have sharp stabbing pains, that's your body telling you, stop for today. That's enough. Give yourself rest and recover.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Before we move on, I am so appreciative of our sponsors, and I must thank them. Please support our sponsors and tell them that you heard about them on Hilary Topper On Air. Special thanks to Russo Law Group, MedPro, once again Nut Butter, and Fortune Fine Jewelry. And now back to Dr. DeGorter. Tell us a little bit about injury treatment and prevention, and what kind of techniques you employ in addition to the ART.
So we use chiropractic therapy, which is basically the adjusting of the spine or any bone that is misaligned along the area. Typically, when a bone moves, it shifts onto a nerve, which creates potential discomfort, or in the chiropractic word, they use a word called subluxation, which is when the nerve gets decreased blood flow or pinched into the area, basically, and you lose the sensory deposition to the body. So we do general chiropractic. We also are certified in Graston technique. Graston is a tool. It's basically, there's 6 different tools that they use to scrape the tissue along the skin. It's really nice, and it's designed to break down those scar tissue and adhesions also. What's nice about Graston is when you do Graston versus ART, the doctor feels the releases, and the patient does too when the muscle becomes easier. But with Graston, when you scrape it along the body, you will feel basically these small little bumps and grooves in the body that shouldn't be there. So the patient has great feedback with that. We also use cold laser therapy in the office, which is designed to increase blood flow and decrease chronic injuries into the area or acute injuries. And basically, it uses laser therapy. It's a more target-specific, I like to say, ultrasound to increase the flow back into the body and what you need. And we also have a radial pulse therapy, which is designed to really break up, I like to call it, my nickname for the tool is the jackhammer of death. Because literally, it is a pulsation device designed to break down your chronic injuries, your frozen shoulders, your plantar fasciitis, and push everything out that has heavy adhesions into it. And then, of course, we just got our Normatec boots for the recovery system for the body.
Wow, so interesting. So tell me a little bit about your process. What can someone expect when they come to see you? Is this something that they're going to see you long term, or is it a short term thing?
That's great. So what I always like to do when I end my exams, no matter who you are, I always say, what are your goals here? And, 90% of the population will say, Doc, get me out of pain, move me along. I want to train, I want to get back, and I want to get better. And so we lay out a care plan. You'll come in, we'll do an assessment, an eval, we'll do a full exam. If I do an orthopedic exam and it comes up positive, I'm sending you for maybe an x-ray or an MRI. If your exams come up negative, then potentially, all right, let's do conservative treatment for 2 weeks. If you're getting better, I don't need to send you for the X-ray or MRI. If you have an MRI already, then we'll take that into account and we'll assess the area. The body likes to remimic itself, of course. You know, we all know that we can get the same injury over and over again. So I always start people off, typically, I ask them what your goals are. And you have those people who say, you know, I'm training for a full marathon. I'm training for New York City. And I tell them, let's start you at twice a week for the first 2 weeks, get you out of that pain that you wanted to. And then I'll reassess in 2 weeks if need be. And if you're not doing better, then okay, twice a week for 4 weeks. But then as we go along, our goal is to decrease the frequency. We should stop seeing you so much. You know, I don't need to see you every week if you're not putting so much into it. And what we design a care plan based on you and your body and what you need. And if you're training for a marathon, like I said, you could come in every week for a tune-up, you know, those 20-mile runs when you get to the end of it, or, you know, training can really wear down on that body.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we put them on maybe a once a week or once every other week and keep them tuned up so that when they get to the start line, they feel great. There's so many athletes who get to the start line with that nagging pain and nagging injury.
Terrible.
Like, oh, I'm not going to get that PR today because I already have this problem in the back of my head.
So can you give us a couple of examples of some success stories that you're particularly proud of?
Sure. One of my favorite success stories was an FDNY firefighter. I can't give out his name via HIPAA laws, but basically he said he always had a desire to run the marathon ever since 9/11. And when he was training, he was really building up, and all of a sudden, boom, shin splints. And he had to taper back. He tried to run it, ran 10 miles, pulled himself out. Next year, he goes, I'm going to do it again, plantar fasciitis. So the third year, he was with the running club, and he was like, I've got some stuff going on. I've met some people from the running community. They say you're the best. I'm trying again for another marathon. And that year, he went in, he followed the protocol. We got rid of the plantar fasciitis with the radial pulse therapy. And basically we moved him along. We started seeing him twice a week for 3 weeks. Then we decreased his frequency to once a week. And then all of a sudden we decreased him to every other week. And he went right into the marathon, totally clean, totally healthy, came back with his medal, took a picture, super happy. And, you know, those are the kind of success stories that you love to hear. You can give back to the people who really have a goal or desire in mind.
I love that. That's awesome. What a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So tell us how people can get in touch with you or learn more about Jonas Chiropractic Sports Injury Care and your services.
Sure. So the easiest way to find us is on jonaschiropractic.com. We do have a Facebook page. We do have an Instagram page. Those are really helpful. I think our Instagram is Jonas Chiro, and we put that up. And, you know, you can see us at many events. If you have any questions or concerns, shoot me an email. It's jdegorter@jonaschiropractic.com. And I'll be happy to answer any questions when I have, you know, a free time, anytime in between. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. DeGorter, for being on the show. I really appreciate it. This was fantastic information. I'm sure my listeners learned a lot. And if you have any additional questions for the doc, give him a call at jonaschiropractic.com. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, the Russo Law Group, MedPro, once again, Nut Butter, and Fortunoff Fine Jewelry. And last but not least, I want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. If you want more information on this show or any other show, visit our new website, hilarytopperonair.com. Or you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and pretty much everywhere else. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, Hilary.